Hello and welcome again to the lecture series The Ascended Masters Answer the Fundamental Questions of Life. This lesson is entitled Lesson 9, Part 3, The Sahara Kingdom. The King Emperor, then unascended, was the master now known to us as Saint Germain. His empire was a living example of perfection. For hundreds of years this perfection was sustained, and there was no need for any army and navy of any kind. Saint Germain was assisted by a council of 14 ascended masters, 2 working on each of the 7 rays. The government itself consisted of 7 departments, which controlled the activities of the science, industry, and art. Each department head worked directly with the Council of the Ascended Masters and was therefore attuned at all times to the divine plan. Everybody served for the good of all. Now we come to the downfall of this civilization. It sounds like a familiar story. We find the same inner causes already given for the Lemurian civilization and Atlantis. The downward trend starts when people turn away their attention away from God to themselves. The Sahara civilization became enmeshed in sense gratification. They were ungrateful for the blessings nature pours out and for life itself. There was misuse of energy, and the inhabitants became selfish and arrogant. These attitudes created destructive conditions. God, the giver of all life energy, expects the right use of that energy so it may bless the rest of a creation with harmonious activity. Without such right use of energy, a civilization can no longer be sustained under divine plan, and so it collapses. 2,000 years later, that would make it 66,000 BC, most of the empire became barren land. The dreams dried up and desolation reigned everywhere, the result of mankind's discord. Thereafter, and no date was given, followed a great cataclysm, forming an inland sea where the Sahara Desert now lies. The cataclysm that submerged Poseidonus about 10,000 BC later drained this sea, and part of the original Sahara Empire became what is known today as the Sahara Desert. Now let me explain the Meru civilization. From 12,000 BC to 10,000 BC, there existed a civilization in South America which reached a great height of accomplishment. It coexisted with the civilization of Poseidonus, the last remaining large continent of Atlantis, and was a child of the Atlantean culture and attainment. South America at that time was called Meru, after god Meru, who is the Manu of the 6th root race, and whose retreat is near Lake Titicaca. The civilization centered along the Amazon River, the Madeira River, the Uapu River, and extended in an east-west direction from the Amazon Delta to approximately 70 degrees west longitude to the easterly border of Peru and Colombia. The name Amazon means boat destroyer, referring to the cataclysm that occurred about 10,000 BC, which severely damaged South America and sank Poseidonus. The river at that time was navigable, extending from Lake Titicaca to the Atlantic Ocean. A canal was built from the Pacific Ocean to Lake Titicaca, and this connection with the Amazon formed an entire waterway between the 2 oceans. The Amazon River at that time was much deeper than it is today. Near the mouth of the Amazon, there were wide, beautiful falls. Between the falls and the seacoast, originally about 10 miles south of the river, there existed a city of importance. It was buried during the Cataclysm that destroyed the Meru civilization. The city rests now 50 feet, 50 feet, below the surface of the earth. The mouth of the Amazon was widened many miles during the Cataclysm that occurred 12,000 years ago. An obelisk of imperishable metal covered with hieroglyphs of the former age marked the highest point of the city. The obelisk was originally 60 feet high. The capital of the empire, which was the religious center, was focused near the Madeira River. The second city of importance was located near the Yaura River. It was a center of commerce, and many governmental buildings were located here. Also, it was the center of the jewelry industry. Many precious stones were cut and polished here. As a result of the Cataclysm, this city suffered the same fate as the city near the mouth of the Amazon. The capital was laid out in a series of concentrated circles, the innermost of which measured 4 miles in diameter. The area of this innermost circle was used to accommodate the executive buildings of the empire. Business streets went out from this innermost circle like spokes from a hub of a wheel. All business streets were paved and constructed 18 inches to 24 inches below the surrounding ground. They were flooded every morning and washed thoroughly clean before the activities of the day began. 3 miles from the innermost circle, there were landscaped streets which functioned as scenic roads for pleasure drives. Energy necessary for the light, heat, and power for propulsion was generated and transmitted by instrument-like power boxes. If used for propulsion, they were attached to the vehicle used. 7 different types of these energy transmitting boxes were in use. The boxes had a volume of 2 feet by 2 feet by 3 feet. They had the capability of gathering the energy currents existing in the atmosphere. These currents of electricity were of a higher, finer type than the electricity that's in use today. They could be affected through thought force, but could be controlled through mechanical means as well. Saint Germain reported another achievement in the field of technology. Certain metals were combined with glass through a fusing process to make the product strong as steel and imperishable. The people living in Meru had golden hair. The men were about 6 feet 3 inches in height, the women averaging 5 feet 10. All had eyes of a beautiful violet blue color. The race expressed a serene, calm intelligence. The name of the emperor was Casimir Poseidon. An ascended master was a direct descendant of the mighty ascended master rulers of Atlantis. His crown consisted of a simple band of gold with a large diamond in the center of the forehead. His heavy golden hair hung full to his shoulders. Casimir Poseidon was greatly loved by his people, and his memory was kept alive for many centuries in myth and fable. Now the warning. Shortly before the capital just described was buried, it reached the height of its glory. The ascended master who brought the Meru civilization to its greatest height appeared for the last time to the people. He foretold of an unavoidable cataclysm and announced that this was his last appearance. He gave no time period for the cataclysm. Those who wished to save themselves were instructed to leave and directed where to go. The warning was given that the catastrophe could be sudden and complete. After finishing this prophecy, his body faded rapidly from sight. Now the cataclysm. After a year had passed, the memory of the prophecy had faded. Nothing unusual happened. The population anxiety passed away. Doubt began to appear as to the reality of the coming cataclysm. Casimir Poseidon and those more spiritually advanced left the area and began to take up residence in the western part of the United States. Here they remained until the cataclysm was over. The remaining people in Meru became more and more skeptical and rebellious. One person attempted to force an entrance to the sealed temple. He fell lifeless at its door. Near the end of the 5th year following the prophecy, the sun darkened at noon, and an awful terror filled the atmosphere. At sunset, terrific quakes shook the earth and demolished all buildings. Chaos was everywhere. Before the coming of dawn, the great destructive powers had done their work. The entire continent of Meru, now called South America, lost its equilibrium. It tilted and rolled to the east, submerging the entire eastern coast for a distance of 160 feet. The coast remained in this position for several years. Then it gradually righted itself to within 60 feet of the original position. No subsequent changes in elevation have occurred since that time. Thus, another civilization of splendid achievement came to an abrupt close. Saint Germain explaining how a civilization beautiful and perfect in every way could suffer the tragedy of a destructive cataclysm. He stated, "When a group of mankind is fortunate enough to come under the radiation of a great master of light, in return as a balance, a continuous, conscious effort is needed to be made by mankind to understand cosmic law and to willingly work in a harmonious cooperation with it. According to God's law, if a group of mankind has been taught the way of mastery and has been reminded lifetime after lifetime of their divine birthright and their balancing effort is not forthcoming, the masters of light must withdraw their sustaining power." This concludes Lesson 9, Part 3. I sincerely hope you enjoyed it, and I hope we will meet soon again for Part 4 of the lesson. God bless you.